Is your life a series of whispers or a deafening roar? Do you wake up each morning to a world you're shaping or a world that's shaping you? We live in an age of infinite distraction, a carnival of noise where every swipe, every notification, every fleeting headline demands a piece of your precious attention. They tell you to buy this, to look like that, to believe what they believe. And in this cacophony, a dangerous illusion takes root. The idea that the greatest investment you can make is in the world outside of you. You're told to chase the next shiny object, the next trend, the next get-rich-quick scheme. You're encouraged to outsource your own success, to hand over the keys to your destiny to external forces, to a system designed to keep you a perpetual consumer, not a creator. But what if the greatest failure of our time isn't a lack of opportunity, but a lack of intentional, relentless investment in the only asset that truly matters? What if the reason most people fail isn't because they're lazy or unlucky, but because they've been sold a lie about where the real gold is buried? We're told to build empires, but we forget the most foundational empire of all, the one that resides within. We meticulously plan our careers, our finances, our vacations, yet we spend not a single moment charting the course of our own mind. We are architects of external structures, but we leave the inner cathedral to crumble. This isn't about blaming the world. It's about a hard, unvarnished look in the mirror. It's about recognizing the silent, insidious sabotage that happens when we prioritize everything but ourselves, when we pour our energy into others' dreams, when we invest our time into others' stories, when we spend our most valuable currency, our focus on 1,000 little things that yield zero long-term return. This is the great unlearned lesson, the tragic oversight. The world doesn't reward those who are merely busy. It rewards those who are deliberate. The difference between a life of quiet desperation and a life of profound fulfillment is not a matter of luck, but a matter of conscious, courageous, and unwavering investment. The most expensive thing you will ever lose is not money, but your momentum, your belief, and your own unwavering sense of self. The mind is not a passive spectator. It is the engine of your reality. And yet for most, it is an untended garden overgrown with weeds of doubt, fear, and past regrets. We allow the toxic seeds of societal expectations and other people's limitations to take root and flourish. We listen to the whispers of our insecurities until they become deafening roars. We are the keepers of this garden, and our inaction is a decision. The man who fails to invest in his mind is a man who builds a house on shifting sand. No matter how grand the facade, no matter how impressive the exterior, the foundation is weak, and the inevitable collapse is only a matter of time. Think of the titans of history. Thomas Edison, with his thousands of failures on the path to the light bulb. Did he see them as failures? No. He saw them as investments. Each attempt was a lesson, a piece of data, a brick in the wall of his eventual success. He wasn't just trying to invent a light bulb. He was inventing himself, a mind forged in the crucible of relentless experimentation and unbreakable resolve. His mind was a laboratory, not a cemetery of broken dreams. This is the first great investment, the conscious decision to become the architect of your own mental landscape. It means replacing the casual consumption of information with deliberate, focused learning. It means trading the fleeting dopamine hit of social media for the deep, sustained satisfaction of reading a book that challenges your worldview. It means building an inner world so strong, so resolute, that the storms of the outer world can't shake it. This isn't about being positive all the time. It's about being real. It's about acknowledging the fear and then choosing to act in spite of it. It's about recognizing the doubt and then building a fortress of discipline around your goals. The mind is a muscle, and like any muscle, it atrophies from disuse. The man who spends his days consuming instead of creating, scrolling instead of studying, complaining instead of conquering, is a man whose mental muscle is wasting away. He wonders why he feels weak, why he feels helpless, why the world seems to have a gravity he can't escape. He fails to realize he is the source of his own gravitational pull. Belief is not a wish or a hope. It is a force. It is the invisible scaffolding upon which all great achievements are built. When you truly believe in something, your entire physiology shifts. Your energy, your focus, your actions all align with that singular, powerful conviction. But for most, belief is a fragile thing, easily shattered by a single setback, a single cynical comment, a single moment of doubt. We hold our beliefs like a delicate vase, afraid to put it to any real use. We are told that seeing is believing, but the masters of destiny have always known that believing is seeing. They saw the future they intended to create long before it manifested. Walt Disney saw a world where families could escape into a land of pure imagination long before there was a single brick laid for Disneyland. He was ridiculed, called a fool, yet his belief was so unshakable, so potent, that it pulled reality toward it. He didn't wait for the world to believe in his dream. He made his dream so real, so vivid, that the world had no choice but to believe with him. This is the second great investment, the cultivation of an unbreakable belief in yourself and your vision. It requires you to be a ruthless bouncer at the club of your consciousness. Anyone who brings doubt, negativity, or mediocrity must be shown the door. It requires you to stand guard over your own thoughts, to challenge every negative self-talk, every limiting story you've been told. It requires you to build a personal library of your own past victories, a catalog of every time you overcame a challenge, every time you defied the odds. When doubt creeps in, you don't fight it with wishful thinking. You fight it with evidence. You remember the time you pushed through when you wanted to quit. You remember the time you achieved something you thought was impossible. You remind yourself of the undeniable truth that you are a creator, not a victim. The man who fails to invest in his belief is a man who stands at the starting line of a race with a broken engine. He may have the best intentions, the best gear, the best training, but without the engine of belief, he will never take the first step. Imagine setting out on a journey with no map, no compass, and no destination in mind. You would wander aimlessly, burning through your resources, expending your energy, and ultimately ending up exactly where you started. Yet, this is the default mode for most people's lives. They move from one task to the next, one job to the next, one goal to the next, with no overarching sense of purpose. They are busy but not productive. They are moving but not advancing. They are living, but they are not leading their lives. The world is full of people who have confused activity with accomplishment and motion with momentum. They are the human equivalent of a car spinning its wheels in the mud. They are expending tremendous effort, but they are going nowhere. The reason is simple. They have not invested in clarity. They have not taken the time to sit down with themselves and ask the hardest question of all. What is my purpose? What is the one thing, the one mountain I am meant to climb, the one truth I am meant to bring into the world? This is the third great investment, the relentless pursuit of clarity and purpose. It requires solitude. It requires silence. It requires the courage to face the uncomfortable truth of where you are versus where you want to be. It is the process of stripping away the noise, the expectations, the should-dos, and finding the one singular, burning why that drives your every action. It's the difference between a job and a calling. A job is something you do for money. A calling is something you would do for free, and the money is a byproduct of your passion. The men and women who have changed the world, Carnegie, Ford, Lincoln, did not wake up one day and decide to be great. They woke up with a burning sense of purpose, a purpose so clear, so potent, that it became a lens through which they saw the world. Every decision, every risk, every setback was filtered through this lens. If it served their purpose, they embraced it. If it didn't, they discarded it. They were not driven by circumstance. They were driven by their compass. The man who fails to invest in his purpose is a man who has built a ship with no rudder. He is at the mercy of every wind and every wave. He may drift for a while, but he will never arrive at a destination of his own choosing. We live in a world that worships information. We consume podcasts, read articles, watch videos, and fill our heads with the latest strategies and techniques. We are drowning in knowledge. But knowledge without action is the most tragic form of intellectual obesity. It is the weight of potential that never becomes reality. We have confused learning with doing and planning with execution. We believe that if we just learn one more thing, read one more book, or watch one more tutorial, we will somehow magically be ready to act. But the great secret of all success is that the time to act is always now. The world doesn't care what you know. It cares what you do. The master doesn't study the map. He walks the path. The difference between the man who dreams and the man who achieves is a single, fundamental, and brutal truth. One acts, the other waits. This is the fourth great investment, the commitment to relentless, imperfect action. It is the understanding that momentum is the greatest force in the universe, and it is born from movement, not from stillness. It's about taking the first step before you have the perfect plan. It's about building the first prototype before you have the perfect design. It's about writing the first terrible draft before you have the perfect sentence. The men who built empires, Musk, Jobs, Bezos, did not wait for the stars to align. They started building in their garages, in their dorm rooms, in their spare time. They understood that the most powerful thing you can do is to simply begin. They understood that action is the great purifier of doubt. When you move, you create data. You learn what works and what doesn't. You gain clarity from the friction of reality. The man who fails to invest in action is a man who spends his entire life standing at the edge of the pool, contemplating the perfect way to get wet. The man who invests in action simply jumps in. Life is not a straight line. It is a series of peaks and valleys, a constant and unforgiving test of our resolve. Most people mistake a setback for a stop sign. They see a challenge and interpret it as a sign from the universe that they should give up, that they were not meant for this path. They retreat into the comfort of what they know, and they allow a single moment of friction to derail a lifetime of potential. But the masters of their own destiny know that friction is not the enemy, it is the forge. It is the heat that hardens the steel of their character. They do not see setbacks as failures, but as feedback. They understand that a wrong turn is not a dead end, but a new opportunity to learn and course correct. They are not defined by their failures, but by their response to them. The difference between a life of quiet defeat and a life of triumphant victory is not the absence of struggle, but the presence of unyielding resilience. This is the fifth great investment, the cultivation of a mind that is both resilient and adaptable. It requires you to reframe your relationship with failure, to see every mistake not as a punishment, but as a priceless lesson. It means building a mental muscle that can take a punch, get knocked down, and still get back up stronger and smarter than before. It requires you to be a perpetual student of your own life, always asking, what can I learn from this, instead of, why did this happen to me? Think of Abraham Lincoln, a man who faced a litany of defeats, business failures, political losses, personal tragedies before he ever reached the presidency. He didn't see these as reasons to quit. He saw them as a curriculum, a brutal education that prepared him for the most difficult job in the nation's history. He was not a perfect man, but he was an unbreakable man. He was forged in the fire of his own struggles. The man who fails to invest in his resilience is a man who has built a sandcastle at the edge of the tide. The inevitable will come, and he will be washed away. We are conditioned to focus on what we lack. We compare our lives to the curated highlight reels of others, and we find ourselves wanting. We are told that a life of constant striving is the only path to success, and that contentment is a sign of complacency. But the deepest, most profound successes are built on a foundation that seems counterintuitive, gratitude. Gratitude is not a passive emotion. It is an active force. It is the recognition that no matter where you are, no matter what you have or don't have, you have been given the most precious gift of all. Another day, another chance, another breath. When you approach the world from a place of gratitude, you are not blind to your challenges. You are simply empowered by the immense resources you already possess. You are operating from a place of abundance, not scarcity. This perspective shifts everything. It turns a burden into a challenge, a roadblock into a detour, and a struggle into a triumph in the making. This is the sixth great investment, the conscious practice of gratitude and continuous learning. It requires you to see the world not as a source of what you lack, but as a source of what you can learn. Every person you meet, every book you read, every experience you have is a potential lesson. The great masters never stopped being students. Carnegie, the titan of industry, spent his fortune building libraries because he knew that the greatest wealth of all was knowledge. He was a lifelong learner, a man who saw every moment as an opportunity to expand his mind. He understood that the day you stop learning is the day you start dying. The man who fails to invest in gratitude and learning is a man who sees the world as a problem to be solved rather than a garden to be cultivated. He is a man who has closed the book before the best chapters have even been written. He believes he knows all he needs to know, and he is therefore condemned to a life of perpetual repetition, unable to grow, unable to adapt, unable to transcend. So, where do you go from here? What is the one truth that you will take with you? It is this: your life is not an accident. It is a masterpiece in the making, and you are the artist. The world is full of people who are waiting for someone to come along and save them, to give them permission to be great, to hand them the keys to a kingdom they did not build. But the truth is, the kingdom is already within you. The power is already in your hands. The time to invest in yourself is not tomorrow, or next week, or next year. The time is now. Today, you will make a choice. You will choose to be the person who blames the world for their circumstances, or you will choose to be the person who takes radical, unapologetic responsibility for their own life. You will be the person who is a slave to their habits, or you will be the master of their own destiny. You will be the person who waits for an opportunity to knock, or you will be the person who builds the door. The world is waiting for you to unleash your potential. It is waiting for the unique genius that only you can bring. It is not waiting for a perfect person, but a committed one. Not a flawless person, but a resilient one. Not a lucky person, but a deliberate one. The greatest investment you will ever make is in the person you are becoming. Everything you desire, everything you dream of, everything you hope for is on the other side of this single powerful choice. So, choose wisely, choose courage, choose purpose, choose to invest in the only person who can truly change your world. Choose you. The most dangerous enemy you will ever face is not an external force. It is the silent, insidious voice inside your own head. It is the narrative you tell yourself when no one else is listening. The world is full of people who have been defeated not by circumstances, but by their own internal monologue. They believe the lies they tell themselves. I'm not smart enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not ready. They allow a single moment of self-doubt to morph into a lifetime of stagnation. They are the unmade champions, the silent geniuses, the would-be titans who were never truly defeated by the world, but by their own relentless self-sabotage. They have failed to invest in the most fundamental asset of all, the belief that their internal narrative is not a fixed truth, but a flexible story they have the power to rewrite. This is the seventh great investment, the conscious mastery of your internal dialogue. It requires you to become a detective of your own thoughts, to identify the lies you've been telling yourself, and to replace them with a new, more empowering truth. It is the process of silencing the inner critic and amplifying the inner coach. It is the understanding that your thoughts are not commands, they are suggestions, and you have the power to accept or reject them. Think of the great leaders who faced immense public criticism and doubt. Lincoln was called a buffoon, a dictator, a failure. Did he listen to the noise of the world? No. He listened to the quiet conviction of his own purpose. He understood that the greatest battle was not on the battlefield, but within his own mind. He chose to believe in his mission, even when no one else did. The man who fails to invest in his internal dialogue is a man who has handed the keys to his destiny to 1,000 different voices, all of them telling him to stop. We are not born with success. We build it, and we build it brick by brick through the deliberate daily rituals of our lives. We are, in essence, the sum total of our habits. The man who is in peak physical condition is not there by accident. He is the product of thousands of workouts, thousands of healthy meals, thousands of nights of adequate sleep. The man who has built a financial empire is not there by luck. He is the product of thousands of deliberate financial decisions, thousands of hours of focused work, thousands of moments of delayed gratification. Most people, however, live a life of accidental habits. They wake up and check their phone. They react to the world instead of acting upon it. They are victims of their own momentum, trapped in a cycle of unconscious, non-deliberate actions that lead them to a place they never intended to be. They have failed to invest in the most powerful tool for change, the architecture of their own daily routine. This is the 8th great investment, the deliberate cultivation of empowering habits. It is the understanding that a single small action, repeated consistently over time, has the power to create a colossal change. It is the decision to wake up 15 minutes earlier to read a book instead of scrolling on social media. It is the decision to spend 30 minutes on a project instead of an hour on Netflix. It is the understanding that every single day is a choice, and every single choice is a vote for the person you want to become. The man who fails to invest in his habits is a man who is waiting for a sudden, dramatic moment of transformation. He is waiting for a lightning bolt of inspiration, a windfall of luck. But the masters of destiny know that greatness is not a sudden event. It is the inevitable outcome of 1,000 small, deliberate choices. We live in a world that often rewards a facade of perfection. We are told to hide our struggles, to project an image of effortless success. We are encouraged to pretend we have all the answers, to never show a moment of weakness. But this is the great lie of our time. The pursuit of a perfect exterior leads to a fragile, hollow interior. The greatest leaders, the most impactful visionaries, were not perfect. They were human. They made mistakes. They were vulnerable. And it was in their vulnerability, their willingness to admit they didn't know everything, their courage to ask for help, that their true strength was forged. They understood that authentic connection, true growth, and real innovation are born not from a place of flawless strength, but from a place of honest vulnerability. This is the 9th great investment, the courage to be vulnerable. It is the understanding that you don't have to have all the answers, that it's okay to make a mistake, and that asking for help is not a sign of weakness, but a sign of wisdom. It is the decision to build a team around you, not a fan club. It is the decision to surround yourself with people who will challenge you, who will push you, and who will not be afraid to tell you the hard truths you need to hear. Think of the great innovators like Steve Jobs. He was a brilliant, often difficult man, but he was also a man who was willing to admit he needed help, who was willing to learn from others, who was willing to bring in the very best people in the world and trust them to do their jobs. He understood that a single genius is a rare thing, but a team of brilliant, dedicated people is an unstoppable force. The man who fails to invest in his vulnerability is a man who has built a prison of his own making, a perfect, solitary cell where he can never truly grow, never truly connect, and never truly become. And so we arrive back at the beginning. The world is waiting. The world is a canvas. And you are the artist. The only question that remains is this: what masterpiece will you create? Will you allow your life to be a series of accidents, a testament to what might have been? Or will you choose to be a deliberate, conscious creator, a living testament to the power of unwavering self-investment? The choice is yours, and yours alone. The world is not waiting for a perfect person, but a committed one. Not a flawless person, but a resilient one. Not a lucky person, but a deliberate one. The greatest investment you will ever make is in the person you are becoming. Everything you desire, everything you dream of, everything you hope for is on the other side of this single powerful choice. So choose wisely, choose courage, choose purpose. Choose to invest in the only person who can truly change your world. Choose you. We live in a world obsessed with the future. We are taught to constantly plan, to save for retirement, to work towards a goal that is always on the horizon. And while foresight is a powerful tool, it becomes a dangerous illusion when it prevents us from acting in the present. We tell ourselves, I'll start tomorrow, or I'll get serious next month, or when I have more time. But the truth is, tomorrow is not a guarantee. The future is an unwritten page, and the only ink you have is the present moment. The most common lie we tell ourselves is that we have time. We act as if our lives are endless, a series of infinite tomorrows waiting to be filled. But the clock is always ticking. The most expensive currency you have is not money, but time. And every moment you spend in indecision, every day you spend in inaction, is a moment you can never get back. This is the 10th great investment, the radical embrace of the present moment. It is the understanding that the only place where change can happen is now. It's the decision to stop waiting for the perfect moment and to start creating it. It's the understanding that the smallest action today is more powerful than the grandest plan for tomorrow. Think of all the great works of art, the great inventions, the great movements that have shaped history. They did not happen in the future, they happened in the present. The artists, the inventors, the leaders did not wait for the perfect time. They simply began. The man who fails to invest in the now is a man who is forever standing at the crossroads, waiting for a green light that will never come. In our hyper-connected, hyper-stimulated world, we have lost the art of stillness. We are constantly bombarded with notifications, with news, with the demands of others. We have forgotten how to be alone with our own thoughts, how to sit in silence and listen to the quiet voice within. But it is in this stillness that true clarity is found. It is in the quiet moments of reflection that we can distinguish between the noise of the world and the wisdom of our own intuition. It is in the silence that we can hear the whispers of our purpose, the subtle guidance that leads us toward our destiny. The man who is constantly surrounded by noise is a man who is forever lost. He is a ship without a compass, tossed about by the currents of external opinion, unable to chart his own course. This is the 11th great investment, the cultivation of inner stillness. It is the deliberate practice of disconnecting from the external world in order to reconnect with your internal one. It is the commitment to meditation, to solitude, to reflection. It is the understanding that your most valuable asset is not your ability to react to the world, but your ability to create from within. Think of the great minds throughout history, from Marcus Aurelius to Elon Musk. They all understood the power of solitude. They all understood that the greatest insights, the most profound revelations, are born not in the clamor of the crowd, but in the quiet of the mind. The man who fails to invest in his own stillness is a man who is forever at the mercy of the world. He is a man who has outsourced his own intuition, a man who has lost his way in a world that is designed to keep him lost. The greatest empires are not built on money or power or influence. They are built on a foundation of unshakable integrity. Integrity is not something you do. It is who you are. It is the congruence between your words and your actions, between your beliefs and your behavior. It is the quiet knowing that you are operating from a place of truth, even when no one is watching. The man who lacks integrity is a man who has built his house on a foundation of sand. No matter how grand the structure, no matter how impressive the facade, the inevitable collapse is only a matter of time. Trust is the currency of all relationships, all business, all success. And trust is earned not through what you say, but through what you do. The world is full of people who talk a good game, but their actions tell a different story. They are the empty vessels, the hollow promises, the would-be leaders who are eventually exposed by the truth of their own character. This is the 12th great investment, the unwavering commitment to integrity. It is the understanding that every decision you make, no matter how small, is a vote for the person you are becoming. It is the decision to do the right thing, even when it is the harder thing. It is the commitment to being a person of your word, a person who can be trusted, a person who builds not just a legacy, but a reputation that will outlast any temporary success. Think of the great philanthropists like Carnegie and Rockefeller. They were not perfect men, but they understood that their long-term legacy would be built not just on the fortunes they amassed, but on the integrity with which they used that fortune. They understood that the greatest wealth of all is a clear conscience and a good name. The man who fails to invest in his own integrity is a man who is forever running from the truth. He is a man who has built a life that can be taken away by a single lie, a single moment of weakness, a single act of betrayal. So here we are, at the end of a journey that is really just the beginning. The world is not a place to be conquered. It is a place to be created. And you are the creator. You have been given the most powerful tools in the universe: your mind, your beliefs, your will, and your time. The only thing standing between you and the life you were meant to live is the choice to use them. The world is waiting for you to unleash your potential. It is waiting for the unique genius that only you can bring. It is not waiting for a perfect person, but a committed one. Not a flawless person, but a resilient one. Not a lucky person, but a deliberate one. The greatest investment you will ever make is in the person you are becoming. Everything you desire, everything you dream of, everything you hope for is on the other side of this single powerful choice. So choose wisely, choose courage, choose purpose. Choose to invest in the only person who can truly change your world. Choose you. The world is not changed by people who react to it, but by people who create it. And the fuel for all creation is vision. A vision is not a wish or a dream. It is a clear, unwavering mental image of a future that does not yet exist, a future that you are determined to bring into reality. Most people live their lives in a reactive state, bouncing from one problem to the next, one distraction to the next. They are a product of their environment, a result of their circumstances. They have no vision, and therefore they have no power. A vision is the lighthouse that guides your ship through the darkest storm. It is the North Star that keeps you on course when all other directions seem to blur. The man who lacks a vision is a man who is lost at sea, unable to distinguish between a destination and a mirage. This is the 13th and final great investment, the cultivation of a compelling, soul-stirring vision. It is the understanding that you are not just a participant in your life, you are the author. It is the deliberate act of sitting down and writing the story of your future, not as a passive observer, but as the hero of your own epic. Think of the pioneers who built this nation. They did not settle for the world they were given. They had a vision of a world they could create. They saw a future of freedom, of opportunity, of prosperity, long before it ever came to pass. And it was that vision, that unshakable belief in a better future that fueled their every action, that sustained them through every hardship, that ultimately led to the creation of a new world. The man who fails to invest in his vision is a man who has handed over his destiny to the whims of the world. He is a man who is living a life that is a photocopy of someone else's, a life of quiet desperation, a life of unfulfilled potential. He is a man who has forgotten that the greatest act of creation is not the invention of a new device or the writing of a new book, but the conscious, courageous creation of your own life. So, where do we go from here? We have traveled through the landscape of the mind, the currency of belief, the compass of purpose, the engine of action, the forge of resilience, the soil of gratitude, the battleground of dialogue, the power of habit, the courage of vulnerability, the illusion of time, the stillness of the soul, the foundation of integrity, and now the ultimate investment, the cultivation of a vision. We have arrived at the final, profound truth. Your life is not a series of accidents. It is a masterpiece in the making, and you are the artist. The world is full of people who are waiting for someone to come along and save them, to give them permission to be great, to hand them the keys to a kingdom they did not build. But the truth is, the kingdom is already within you. The power is already in your hands. The time to invest in yourself is not tomorrow, or next week, or next year. The time is now. Today, you will make a choice. You will choose to be the person who blames the world for their circumstances, or you will choose to be the person who takes radical, unapologetic responsibility for their own life. You will be the person who is a slave to their habits, or you will be the master of their own destiny. You will be the person who waits for an opportunity to knock, or you will be the person who builds the door. The world is waiting for you to unleash your potential. It is waiting for the unique genius that only you can bring. It is not waiting for a perfect person, but a committed one. Not a flawless person, but a resilient one. Not a lucky person, but a deliberate one. The greatest investment you will ever make is in the person you are becoming. Everything you desire, everything you dream of, everything you hope for is on the other side of this single powerful choice. So choose wisely, choose courage, choose purpose. Choose to invest in the only person who can truly change your world. Choose you.